Good morning.
Well, for you,
Just trying to make it
it's
so.
it's closer to afternoon for me, so it's good afternoon for me.
Yeah, yeah. What's the weather like over there? It's like overcast and rainy here which is
You know,
unusual.
we were we were supposed to actually have rain yesterday. It's been sunny and mild with actually one of the time Thursday's trail walk was like around 78, 79 degrees.
Wow.
Yeah. And today, like right now, it's like early 50s.
Yeah, I
It
think
was
it might be that here too.
and it's probably going to get like early 60s at best here today. It's supposed to a little bit of a cool down, so going to go hit the trail again today. It'll be the third time in a week.
Wow. So you're breaking in some new boots?
Breaking in the new boots, they actually feel pretty good.
Gave up on
Mm,
boots like a decade ago, maybe more. Just trail running shoes now.
I looked at trail running shoes and I'm like, yeah. The only thing I actually need the ankle support,
Hmm.
so that's why I
Yeah.
got them.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting basically military tactical boots, but just the mid ankle boots instead of like
Hmm.
the full ankle.
Full height ones, yeah.
They are good. They're comfortable. I mean, downhill, got a little bit of a slide, so like your toes are like jamming into the front of the toe box
Oh,
of
oh,
the
that just
boot
gives me
stuff.
the willies right there. I've lost my toenails twice.
Yeah. So, but other than that, they're great. They're comfortable. They've got the side zipper, which I was not sure I'm a fan of right now, but they do make it a hell of a lot easier to take your boots off.
Right. Yeah.
But
It's very
yeah, no, they're
futuristic when they start adding zippers, and
yeah,
it's like those. Have you seen those new Nike shoes where like you can just step into them and
yes.
like latch onto your foot? It's very very futuristic.
Anytime I look at a pair of shoes, 15,000 other pair of shoes ads pop up,
Mm,
and like, ooh, try this, ooh, try that. And I'm like,
creepy.
no,
Jeez.
no, no. I swear, I was texting with some friends from work, and they were like, if money were no object, where would you go? Like, what would be your ideal place to go and travel?
Like a destination type of a thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I was just like, well, if money's no object, then I'm going to go everywhere. I mean, that's
All the places.
exactly. I was just, and the other guy said the same thing, like practically at the same time. And he's like, no, you got to pick one. I'm like, well, I would like to like hop from like say Nova Scotia on over to Iceland, then to Ireland, and then go into Scandinavia and do those things.
You're like,
And so,
dude, I wanted the easy answer. It was just a simple question. You're like, I've got an itinerary.
exactly. But the funny thing about it is that so I like mentioned Iceland, and I'm scrolling through Instagram, and I had three different ads for Iceland Air.
And you just did you type it out or did you say it
Oh no, I typed it out
into what?
into iMessages.
Oh wow, that's weird.
Mm-hmm. It's a little creepy.
That is. Jeez, I mean, do you have like an Alexa in your house or something?
We've got a Google
Uh huh. Yeah.
little HomePod thing, whatever the hell it's called. I don't know what it's called. What is the little Google Mini?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Oh, yeah. And like periodically, it's just like every once in a great while, I'll say, Google, are you listening to me? That is not in my function. And then sure enough,
Reassuring robot. Jeez.
and then, and we'll be sitting around talking and you see the like lights pop up, because there's like the
Yeah.
four little lights on there,
Yeah.
and they'll like pop up and then she'll say, I didn't understand the question. And then it, at least either myself or one of the kids will say, because we didn't ask you one.
Yeah. Yeah. We have an Alexa in the kitchen, and well, we just mainly use it for shopping list and timers. That's the main two things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just like a grocery list, right? Not Amazon. And and it's like, by the way, I don't recognize your name. Would you like to tell me who you are so that I can? And it's like, no, and don't ever ask me that again. That's what my wife always
Ex-
says to it.
exactly. They're listening.
Oh my gosh,
E-
yeah,
Even though they say they're not, they're
yeah,
listening.
yeah, yeah. I think I've run into that same similar thing where it's like you say something and then you're looking up. You don't have your ad blockers turned on and all that kind of stuff. all of a sudden there's ads popping up for, some airline travel or whatever. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's so creepy. Jeez, leave me alone.
So, total side note here. I just like started looking at the box that my boots came in, and I thought it has both US, UK, and European sizes on there.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a size 14 with a UK size of 13. I thought we were both on the imperial measurement. Are their inches different than our inches?
I don't know the answer to that. Maybe a listener can tell.
I totally get the EU 47, but we adopt theirs? We modified some of the words out of spite from our
removed a couple of unnecessary vowels.
Yeah, or changed the pronunciation on them, just to add some more controversy.
Mm-hmm. Controversy. I haven't heard that before.
You've never heard controversy?
No.
Oh my gosh, you like watch all these British shows and you've never heard controversy?
I don't think so. Yeah, I haven't heard
that. Or aluminium?
Yeah, definitely heard that.
That one drives me insane. It's aluminum.
So chuffed right now.
Exactly. But I am now curious, why is the British boot size and the American boot size that are both on imperial measurement slightly different?
Real-time follow-up. Mine are the same. It's the UK is one size less.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to say how small your feet are, too.
Nope. I like how you're like, mine are size 14s. And your voice went deeper and you said it a little louder.
Well, what's worse, now it's to the point where I really can't find anything in the store. And even worse for Brendan, his feet are 16s and we have to order everything.
Mm-hmm. Have a custom made. I've got a cobbler down the street.
We have to go to clownshoes.com.
You got to get him a tiny car. Get him a smart car and
oh my gosh,
go Shaquille O'Neal style. I think he wears like size 23 though, so Brendan's got a ways to go.
His are insane. Thankfully, his has stopped, at least for now.
Yeah, hopefully. No more growth spurts.
They had a Shaq shoe on display somewhere that we were at. I think it might have been even at the American History Museum. And it's insane. Like, to be able to say, I can put my shoe on and then grab his shoe and put it on over me and still have plenty of room.
Oh yeah, you'd be swimming in there. So I'm sure I've told this story before, but I met Shaquille one time. It's one of my claims to fame. Actually, not at all. But I was down in Beverly Hills at like Jerry's Deli or someplace like that, and it was middle of the night. It was just totally random, and Shaq is there. It must have been like after a game or something, right. and walked like he was walking down the aisle. I was walking down the aisle toward each other, and I said, "Oh, I said hi," and he says, "What's up, little man?"
You're like, wah, wah, wah.
That was perfect. He's not wrong.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to ask, how small did you feel?
Yeah, totally. Oh my God. Shook his hand. Enormous. Like, what? Not real. Just didn't feel real. It was like straight out of a movie. Like, I felt like an Avenger versus, what's his name?
You were like, I'm Ant-Man.
Jeez. Totally crazy. So yeah, that's my Shaquille story.
Amazing.
Yeah, big feet.
So it's been going on with you. How's the transition?
It's been good. I've been.
Can we talk about it?
Yeah, sure. It's weird getting used to new things. That's for sure. You get so. What's interesting to me is hearing. I think this is probably the most interesting thing because I think switching jobs is not that interesting, but it's the outside commentary of that. So getting a lot of comments on my LinkedIn update, which I did later than probably most people would do that right away. I didn't do it right away. So wanted to get settled in first. And, funnily enough, we as a company didn't even have a company page up yet. So I couldn't say where I worked if it didn't exist. Right. So once that got set up, I switched it over, and people are commenting, and oh my God, you left, and wow, like a lot of it was wow, you have been at HMC a long time. This is an interesting or a big deal, or some version of that, which I think is kind of interesting, because it's I've noticed, like, especially with like the millennial generation, they move around a lot. They move around quite often,
Right. Right.
And my grandfather, on the other hand, worked for Procter and Gamble his whole life and retired from there, right? So that was another model that we don't really follow anymore either. So it seems like the generations work at the same institution, or whatever you want to call it, business, for less and less amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think us, Gen Xers are caught in the middle of that, right? So several people made the comment that, oh, I thought you were a lifer at HMC. Thought
Right.
you were one friend of mine, a dean at a local architecture school, said, I thought you were going to die at your desk there. And that caught me by surprise, because I guess I could totally understand that. I could see that from his perspective, but I never felt that way. I never thought that way. So that to me was surprising.
It's funny that you say that, when you, like, LinkedIn was like your last one that you had kind of updated. I got a text from a friend of mine who doesn't even know you. I mean, they only know you through, like, me talking
Not
about
personally,
you,
yeah.
and not personally. And they're like, "So Evan left HMC? Wow." Like,
Yeah.
okay, random. Sure. Yes, he did. Like, how does he feel? I'm like, I'm sure fine. I mean, but you don't know him. It's like,
It's weird having a
okay.
podcast all of a sudden. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, people quote unquote know you or follow you on social media or on these different platforms. It's interesting for sure.
Yeah.
And some people who do take the time to comment, it's never who you think it's going to be
Yeah, but
either.
so now you're not in an architecture firm on a daily basis, and you're working with architects and manufacturers and things like that. I know it's early, and
Yeah.
so it's all in the infancy of things. But I mean, let's just say, what does it feel like not to have to go into, and I know, yeah, working from home kind of made transitions probably at this stage somewhat easier, but to, not have to kind of like adhere to the deadline of a project type thing. Because it's interesting, because you made a shift, your career, and my sister, had just recently done the same thing.
Mm.
And she had left. She was like, this is the last day that I'm going to, be seeing patients 30 years,
Wow. Yeah.
for 30 years, and kind of went on to more of like, working for somebody who processes like insurance and things like that, which was one of her jobs, but it was only one of many jobs that she did. I mean, she had to draw blood, she had to, like, see patients and do all the other things and everything else. And so she was like, for the first day, and she's like, it felt so weird to, like, detach from the things that you basically were like almost a muscle memory every single day for 30 years, and to do something completely different. And for you, I mean, you were with HMC for what, almost 20?
Yeah. Yeah. It was 18 total, I think.
Right. And like, it sort of becomes somewhat of a muscle memory for like the way that you work, and then to like completely do something, I won't say completely different, but it is still a pretty significantly different kind of avenue in the profession.
I think my shift actually happened a few years ago. And when I started digital
Yeah,
practice at HMC, that was the bigger shift for me,
I could see that.
because that's when I actually went from hands-on day-to-day project work to working on the business. So that's the way I distinguish between the two. Working, like, project work is working in the business. The digital practice was working on the business. Like, it was a different perspective. It was, we all have to get better together. It wasn't, how is my project doing today? right? So
Right.
two very
Right.
different perspectives within the same company. And that was a bigger shift because then it was like, okay, now I'm in strategy mode. Now I'm in vision mode. Now I'm in creating standards mode, building a team mode. And then it really shifted into a communications role, is what I felt like it was at its root or at its core. It was really a communications role. It was building consensus amongst leadership and the staff. It was, setting that direction and getting that consensus, like momentum behind it, and then constantly messaging and communicating where we're headed and what we're doing right now to get there. Right, so making small changes that added up over time to be big changes. Now this shift from digital practice at HMC to what's called our the director of this architectural community is very similar to that.
Okay.
So it's still about communication, and it's about building consensus, and it's about shifting the perspective away from why we've always done things this way that's completely broken, right? It's like take a step back and let's actually acknowledge that it's broken together, and then here's what we're going to do to move beyond that. And so building basically like creating a new path forward, which is what I felt I was doing with digital practice. It was like, we've got these really entrenched, disciplined ways of doing things, and those are very difficult to change. So what can we do to inject change so that we come out on, quote unquote, the other side in a better position? That's exactly what I'm trying to do here. So I feel like it's very similar. And it's also very similar. I spoke to somebody yesterday and they're like, wow, so you're at a new company, same backdrop, right?
Huh.
Working from home, nothing changed on that side of things, right? I still get up and I go to work, quote unquote, at the same time, and I stare into the same screen and I do this similar things, right? I'm figuring out strategies. I am figuring out ways to communicate those in the best way, and I'm talking to people, and that's really what I spent the majority of my time doing as, the director of digital practice as well. So in that way, that's why I really feel like my shift happened a few years ago, and nobody noticed it then because I worked at the same company. There was a few people obviously inside who were affected by that, and when you coming back to do the real work, the project work, and stuff like that.
The real work.
Yeah, the good stuff. So it's interesting, it's that's when the shift happened, but it wasn't acknowledged by the majority. And now it's a material change has happened, but it's very similar to how I've been operating for the last few years. So different, but not different.
Yeah, there you go.
Not much. And so with this one, I mean, and really, we talked about it in that long episode, but my biggest reason for this change is to make a bigger impact in the whole profession, and that's something that I'm passionate about our profession. I'm not just passionate about one company or one project. I think that we need a few people who are willing to take a step back and take everybody forward, and not worry about those little things. I mean, I want it to make it better for everybody. So that's where I feel like that this has given me that opportunity to do that. Listen to the previous whatever episode for a deeper version into that.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if, we talked a lot with, about the project and about what Tect is all about and things like that. But I don't know if we actually really, did we get deep into like what you specifically were doing?
Yeah, good question. Can't remember.
But it's going to be exciting. It really is. I learning about it as you were sharing information with me, and then talking with Bob and just learning more and more about the project. It really is exciting to see what's in the future, because it's not like the conversation that you guys are a part of and are trying to help, sort of fix. It's a conversation that every architecture firm has. It's about how to communicate with, manufacturers and engineers and things like that to try to improve both, the performance and everything else of like the products that you choose, and but more so just getting the right information in a timely fashion from the right people,
Yeah.
and being able to, do that in a way that is going to be productive in your process of working versus, kind of like the old fashioned kind of broke down version where it takes forever to get comments or content from manufacturers sometimes, and it almost sometimes feels a little too adversarial.
Hmm.
And to be able to, like, do, move forward with that, I mean, it's going to be, I'm sort of excited to see where you guys take this.
I think it feels adversarial because people are bothersome, right? Like the salesmanship that happens because
Yeah.
that's the existing model is like nobody likes that, right?
you
Nobody
know you
likes
know
walking onto a car dealership. Like I don't.
exactly.
I it's like leave me alone, right? I know more about this car than you do. Leave me alone.
Mm, yeah.
And so I understand why you're saying adversarial because I think it does feel like that. It feels like a bother. And so yeah, like let's acknowledge that that doesn't work.
Well,
Let's fix that for both sides. I think
exactly.
one thing I don't want to do is say we're just fixing this for architects because we're not. Like we have to tackle the whole thing all at once.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
so
Right.
we have to make it better for both sides of the table. We have to bring architects to the table so manufacturers will want to be there. But at the same time, the manufacturers that are there have to serve the architects the way the architects want to be served so that we create a
Right.
relationship, right?
Right.
And we
Right.
all know that having those go-to manufacturers, like the reason they're on our short list is because
Right.
they do exactly that. And that's who we like working with. So do we want them all to be like that? Yes, we do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what we're trying to do.
And honestly, I mean, we always like tailor our specs and things to those preferred people. Or, all right, fine, we have like one or two that we really prefer, and because of the nature of the beast of, the bidding climate for certain, clients, we've got to have the third. Or we jump out and say, or approved equal, knowing that we don't really want an approved equal, we want this. And the thing about it is that, as you learn, as you build that relationship and you build that trust between more and more manufacturers, one, that's going to expand our knowledge and our understanding about other products that are out there, but it'll also be able to get to that kind of like the one stewardship that we have with our client is to find the best product at the best price to work for their best interests. And a lot of times when we kind of like stack the deck towards, our favorites, I mean, we're not really doing that.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like, well, if people are really just in the business of getting you the information you need when you need it and it's
Yeah.
appropriate, then why can't they just give you the equals right there? I would
Right.
love to
Right.
solve for that and just say, okay, let's like skip that whole searching process and just tell me who your viable
Right. Right.
competition is, right? Because I'm still going to list you as the basis of design, but man, if you're helping me save time by giving me that information up front and not playing stupid, like
Mm-hmm.
okay, I trust you even more now. Right.
I'll tell you, there is one more step that I feel you guys should start thinking about, and that is the communication between manufacturers and contractors. Because that is, in my opinion, one of the faults to the system, because when we're picking basis of design, we're picking basis of design based off of performance and things like that. They're going immediately into, where is the alternatives so that I can get the best price and, drive this thing down to make sure that I get this project and stuff. And a lot of times they'll even say, oh, that product is too expensive, I'm not even going to bother with. And they don't know because they've never really talked about it. And I've had so many manufacturers say, if I can just get into the room and talk with a contractor about, my product versus their product or something like that, then
Mm.
it will make life so much easier, because then, I'm in a competitive market versus being just thrown out because they think I'm too expensive. And the reason I'm, too expensive for X material might be because I'm saving on Y material, those
Yeah.
kind of things. Because I'm thinking about one in particular. I was just recently asked if we would consider a specific manufacturer as a approved alternate for it. And one of the things that I was thinking about is that, they are an alternate for the overall material, but they actually require some additional structuring and some backup framing that this particular company doesn't require. And so at the end of the day, if you went towards that the basis of design company, you're saving yourself pulling in another trade to work on, the same area. You're adding additional time and cost for backup structures and things like that. And so now, it's more time, more labor, more cost
Mm.
at the end of the day. Looking at at face value, one may be more expensive than the other, but with the time and labor that was spent on or saved on, using the basic design versus the alternate that they're asking about. And that's how I, phrased it when I was talking to them. I'm like, you can, however, the way that we designed it was to, not have all of the backup stud work and things like that. If you do that, you're going to have them go and engineer all of the backup stud work and stuff, and then,
That's free,
go
right?
through. Exactly. And then, you've got this, and then you've got that, and I just started labeling, like running things down, and they're like, oh, I just thought it was a 1-for-1. Like,
Mm.
it really isn't.
Yeah. Yeah, that's tough. These are the kinds of things that nobody ever expects to have to deal with being an architect
Right.
because they don't talk about this stuff, let alone train for it in school.
Right.
So much of this is about communication and details. And I don't mean like detailed drawings, but just the details of all
Right.
of this stuff. It is such a deep, deep, deep problem. And the relationship, kind of going back big picture here between architects and manufacturers is so messed up, but at the same time, if it was good, it could be so good, right? Because, I mean, you have to recognize the fact that all of our buildings that we design, that our clients pay for, are made out of the stuff that they make.
Mm-hmm.
All of it, 100% of it. And so that to me is the most alarming piece of this messed up relationship between various architects and manufacturers. Like, obviously there are some good ones there. There are sales reps for manufacturers. There are manufacturers who care a lot about architecture and design, who care a lot about getting those details right, who getting you what you need when you need it. And then there's the majority of them that don't, right? Who are just kind of going through the motions of it's just a job to them. They're not providing a service that has a lot of meaning to it. So there's a lot to fix there for a lot of benefit. That's why to me this is a problem worth solving, even though it's not a sexy problem worth solving. This is not generative design. This is not something that's gonna, but it can make a real building out of real stuff that you could use those tools to create. And so it kind of goes back to fundamentals of
Mm-hmm.
the way that we make architecture and the process that drives how we make architecture and getting our design intent actually built. It is really fundamental to all of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, like going back to the way that the reaction is like, oh my gosh, you left this to do that, or I can't, that's crazy. Big change, things like that. Yeah, it is, but it isn't. I mean, I think that these are the kinds of problems I was trying to solve internal to a firm as well, and not specific with architects to manufacturers. I'm not trying to say that, but I'm trying to say like fundamental ways of working are broken, people. And so now I'm just trying to figure out ways to get people to pay attention to that, because we can make things better if people are willing to go along this journey with us. Like, I can't make you do it, right? So I'm looking for people who want to do it, right? Number one. But also, like, what are the ways to get people to pay attention, to actually step back and get that broader perspective? Like, yeah, why is it like that? And why do we put up with that? And so how can we make it better? I think that that's a battle that I've been trying to fight for years now, and that is the hardest part because that's change management. That is getting the mind share. That is getting people inspired to want to change and not just stay inside their lane with their blinders on because the project deadline demands it. That's
Exactly.
that's the hard part for sure. Yeah, so there we are. I don't know. That's what I'm working on mostly is just like, it sucks, but you're like wordsmithing stuff. You're trying to keep it short. People have a short attention span. They don't have extra time. A lot of people don't want to take the time to learn something new to get better. They'd rather
Right.
just do it the way that they've always done
Well,
it. So,
I've always been doing it this way.
yeah.
I'll stick to my Excel and Word and the way that I do this and that. And I'm like, there is something easier and different that you can do. Yeah, but I don't have the time to learn.
Yeah.
But you have the time to, stick in some archaic way of doing things and constantly doing that and, complaining about how long it's taking you to do that when you could do it this way. Spend a little bit of time learning, but then the rest of your life, you've got back all of that time that you would otherwise have stayed in the drudgery.
Yeah, and what's interesting is I don't think people necessarily, they're not like trying to be stubborn about that. But this is back to that slide that always gets the laughs in my presentation when it says there's two things that architects hate: the way things are and change.
Yeah, exactly.
Stuck in the middle. Here we are. People want to change, but they don't want to change.
No, they want to advocate for change. They want to advocate for.
They want to talk about change.
Exactly.
They don't want to actually do it.
Exactly. It's like, we'll change. We got to do change. Well, what have you done to change? Nothing.
Yeah.
All right, then. And I guess you just lip service to the change.
Well, and it's like the whole idea behind computing and stuff was to make it easier, right? Rosie the robot on the Jetsons, like it is doing the cleaning, it is doing the food, it is doing, there's another machine actually that just makes the food. But I always thought it was funny that, Rosie the robot's just like doing the housekeeping and stuff. And but like that's the promise of computing. The promise of computing was doing the heavy lifting, right? And and what it's actually done is just provided a mechanism to go into way more levels of detail than anybody thought was possible, right? So
or sometimes even care about.
So AutoCAD made it so anybody could draw a technical drawing, right? Democratized it away from the artistry of laying out sheets and line weights and all that stuff, and democratized that. And it gave you infinite zoom, right?
Yeah.
Which didn't exist on paper. So now we can zoom in and we can draw every screw with every thread, with all the chamfers and everything in the detail that holds the fastener that holds the flashing into the masonry or whatever. And it's like,
right.
Yeah, and so the same thing has happened with trying to find crap for your buildings, find the components, find all these things for your buildings. It's like the internet is global. It's and it's totally unfocused and full of distraction and all of these things. And it's like that's the same problem as infinite zoom, right?
Funny enough when you say that is, I remember somebody coming to me and saying, hey, that handrail, that all glass handrail shoe that you were looking for, what if we use this one? This one seems to like fit the bill of what you were talking about. And I'm like, well, show me some of the information about it. And so they pull up the technical data and it's all in German and it's all in, metric and everything else. And I'm like, well, is it available in the States? I mean, can we get this? And they're like, no. I just figured that, this looked like, something that you were talking about. Like, yes, but if we can't get it here, then why are we talking about it?
Yeah. And there you go. That's exactly what people are dealing with all the time.
Yeah.
And not only that, but they're going to draw it to the nines, or it's already been drawn to the nines. So you're going to cut and paste that in there, and you're going to say, or approved equal. You're going to do all that work, and guess what you're going to get?
You're not going to get anything close to what you were thinking you were going to get because they just don't make it here. Yep.
Yeah, again, the stuff they don't teach you in school. but it's
Exactly.
interesting to think about. I don't know if this is still part of this episode or not, but it's interesting to think about, BIM in this context because it gives people the ability to get lost in those crazy details. And the whole idea of digital twin is you're going to have this digital representation. Like this is a new buzzword in the industry, new-ish. And you're going to have this digital representation of the physical environment. And that's going to be a highly intelligent model. It's going to have all of the sensor data that's being picked up in the real world applied to the digital world. And you're going to be able to then take that and run simulations in the digital world and see how they play out. And if it's acceptable, then you can, actually do that in the physical world and have some clue as to whether it's going to work or not. So, I always use the example of, number of stations or number of conference rooms at various sizes. And it's like, well, obviously, you built it one way and now we watch the behavior of the people and we say, okay, well, we have all these 8-person conference rooms, but they're always being used by 2 people, right? So we really don't need 8-person conference rooms. We really need 2-person conference rooms. Well, instead of going through the capital expense of doing that, you run it in a simulation first is the idea. And then you simulate behavior based on actual behavior. So then you can actually say, well, are these spaces being occupied more over time? Are they more useful, et cetera, et cetera? And then if it proves in the digital world to be like, yeah, that seems like it works. Okay, now we can validate whether it's going to work in the physical world. Let's go now build it out and spend the money to do it because it worked.
Right.
But, okay, the big but to me here is that traditional architectural deliverables are based on representation. They're an abstraction of reality. They are looser by definition than reality, right? When we draw buildings and we draw walls, we don't draw where all the studs are, right? We don't draw where all the fasteners are.
Right. Right.
Because why go through but that so you can see what I'm saying is these two things are at odds with each other. It's like the digital twin must be an exact replica and it must have where all the piping is and where all the studs are. And so, if something breaks, we know where to go to fix it and et cetera, et cetera. We know all the model numbers. We know how they're performing. But the drawing deliverables were not made for that intent. And yet
right.
there's different entities going straight to owners and saying, this is what you're going to need. The architects are already doing some of that work, make them do all of it. And there's some architects who are like, we want to do all of it. We want to do level 500 BIM or whatever. And again, those two things are completely at odds from each other. And not only that, but when a change is made late in the process, it screws everything up, as we all know, right? So
right.
You've got to redraw all that detail as far as it ripples out. Man, what a mess. What a total mess.
And you're absorbing all of that liability to design things to the nth degree.
Well, you're also setting a precedent, right?
Yeah.
Oh, well, if you did it then, you can do it again, right? So,
but then, is our knowledge that vast where we understand how multiple different manufacturers work together with one another? I mean,
and is that where our expertise should be placed, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah,
we talk about
tricky.
means and methods for a reason.
Right. You sent me that photo, right, of that detail of how to drive a nail, and it's like hold nail here, repeatedly strike, and it's this image is pretty funny, right? It's a tongue-in-cheek detail, but it's like no, instant fail, means and methods. You can't do that. All you can do is show the nail already put in the right place.
Exactly.
You can't say how to do it. But that totally makes sense, right? I think that totally makes sense. Yeah, don't tell them how to do it. Show them what you want and then work together through that process to make sure that you actually do get what you want. And it is impossible. That's why this is a practice. It is impossible to know like all the sequencing and to know like that's infuriating, right? Is to find out later that you've designed something that actually can't be built because of the sequencing, because you're not taking that into account. So then that makes the argument for these people like, well, take all that into account and build the model with all the correct phasing. And it's like, it's totally rewriting the purpose of these deliverables, and it's creating extra value for the process, but not for the outcome necessarily.
Right. Right.
And architecture is more about the outcomes than the process. It should be. The value proposition is in the outcome and the performance of the space, and not in the drawing set. But architects tend to, we've pigeonholed ourselves into being the ones who are trying to compete on the drawing side of things instead of on the output side of things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a gross generalization, but I mean, it's mostly true, right?
It's pretty damned accurate.
Yeah, it is a stuck between the rock and the hard place.
Well, I mean, a lot of times it's our ego that gets in the way. It's just like, of course we know how to do this. Of course we know how to do that. Like, you know what? Sometimes it's okay for you not to know how to do that, but at least let them know what is, like you said, what's the outcome. We want to know what the outcome is. Not every time do we need to know what the process is or the sequencing or whatever. Because, I mean, that's just not where our expertise should be.
Right.
Our expertise should be in that, exactly what you said, the final solution, the final output, the final, whatever.
Yeah, the intent of that performance.
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because if we start to mandate where every nail and screw and everything else is, and if something if it's beyond our forte, and it's like, oh well, the nailing pattern should have been this because of the type of engineering that needed to go into some header beam or something like that, and we didn't draw it that way because that's not what we do, and it fails, but we assume that liability then
by drawing it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's on us. Hey, we built it exactly the way the architect drew it. Well, the architect shouldn't have been drawing the damn thing.
Mm.
That's what that note C structural engineering documents is all about.
That's the catch-all. C structural.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They love to pepper it all over their drawings. I mean, we need to throw it back at them too.
Oh, it's interesting to see how messed up it all is, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is.
It's a hard problem. It's a hard problem to fix.
Yeah.
I don't know how you fix it. I can't think that big.
Well, I mean, the good thing is that you guys are looking at it as a way to fix communication, and fixing communication hopefully will be the start of the conversation for these bigger and bigger and bigger problems.
Mm. Yeah, I mean that's what architects do, right? That's what documents are, is communication. So the more accurate that communication can be, the better that communication can be. It does seem hopeful.